Have you ever found yourself agreeing to do something, even though every fiber of your being screamed no? Or maybe you've had a friend who constantly shares their problems with you, leaving you emotionally drained? These are moments when emotional boundaries are blurred, and today, we're going to uncover how to protect your emotional well-being without pushing people away. By the end of this video, you'll have the tools to transform your relationships and reclaim your peace of mind by exploring the types, signs of unhealthy emotional boundaries, strategies for setting healthy emotional boundaries, and role of emotional boundaries. But first, let's ask ourselves, what are emotional boundaries, and why do so many of us struggle with them? Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine you're at work, and a coworker storms in, clearly upset about their day. They rant and rave, and soon, you feel tense, frustrated, and maybe even angry, emotions that aren't even yours to begin with. Sound familiar? That's emotional contagion. It happens when we unconsciously absorb someone else's feelings, often because we haven't established clear emotional boundaries. But what if you could listen to their concerns without letting their frustration hijack your emotions? That's the power of setting boundaries, knowing where their emotions end, and yours begin. Types of emotional boundaries. Not all boundaries are created equal. In fact, there are 4 main types, and each one reveals something about how we manage our emotions. Soft boundaries. First, we have soft boundaries. These are like open doors, too open. People with soft boundaries often merge their emotions with others, making them vulnerable to manipulation. Picture this: your friend calls you at 2 a.m. to vent about their breakup. You're exhausted but pick up the phone anyway because you don't want to disappoint them. The next day, you're too tired to focus at work. This is what happens when you have soft boundaries. You allow others to dictate your energy, often at your expense. Spongy boundaries. Picture a sponge. Sometimes it lets things through, and other times, it doesn't. This inconsistency can leave you unsure of what to accept and what to block. Sound familiar? Now, imagine you're at a family gathering. Sometimes, you share personal stories, but then you suddenly pull back because you're unsure if you can trust the people around you. That's what spongy boundaries look like: uncertainty and inconsistency in deciding what to let in or block out. Rigid boundaries. Imagine a brick wall, impenetrable, unyielding. People with rigid boundaries are often closed off. Think about someone who's been hurt in the past. Maybe it's a person who rarely shares their thoughts or feelings, keeping everyone at arm's length. This is what rigid boundaries look like. They act as a protective wall but often isolate the person behind it. Flexible boundaries. The gold standard. These allow you to decide what to let in and what to keep out. They're balanced, healthy, and exactly. Consider Ruth as an intense. Ruth knows how to listen to her friends' problems, but she doesn't let them consume her. She sets limits on what she shares, depending on who she's talking to. She's empathetic yet protective of her energy. Ruth has flexible boundaries, and that's the ideal balance we should all strive for. Signs of unhealthy emotional boundaries. Let's see if any of these sound familiar to you. Do you feel like it's your job to make someone else happy? For example, a partner who blames you for their bad day, and you spend hours trying to cheer them up? Or maybe you find yourself walking on eggshells around someone, just to avoid upsetting them? Hey, race another one. Do you agree to plans you don't want to, just because saying no feels uncomfortable? Or worse, do you avoid sharing your opinions out of fear of conflict? These are signs of unhealthy boundaries, and if they resonate with you, don't worry, you're not alone. Recognizing them is the first step to creating change. Strategies for setting healthy emotional boundaries. 1. Self-awareness. Let's start with self-awareness. Let's say, you come home from work and feel completely drained, but you're not sure why. Take a moment to reflect. Was it a conversation with a coworker? A tense email? Identifying what drains your energy can help you pinpoint where your boundaries might need work. 2. Clear communication. Here is an example of setting boundaries through communication. Imagine your friend often calls to vent, but it always leaves you feeling overwhelmed. The next time they call, you could say, "I really want to be here for you, but I can only talk for 20 minutes." This way, you're supporting them without compromising your own well-being. 3. Practice saying no. Saying no is hard, but here's a trick. Think of it as saying yes to yourself. For instance, if a coworker asks you to cover their shift but you're already exhausted, politely say, "I can't this time, but I hope you find someone." It's not selfish, it's self-care. 4. Seek support. Sometimes, setting boundaries can feel overwhelming, especially with people we care about. Don't hesitate to talk to a therapist. For example, if you struggle to set boundaries with your parents due to guilt, a counselor can help you navigate those emotions. 5. Regularly reassess boundaries. As relationships evolve, so should your boundaries. Think of it like this. Maybe you used to share every detail of your life with a friend, but now you feel they're overly critical. It's okay to pull back and share less. Boundaries aren't static, they grow with you. The role of emotional boundaries in relationships. Romantic relationships. In romantic relationships, boundaries help partners maintain individuality while fostering intimacy. Picture a couple. One partner loves spending every moment together, while the other values alone time. Without boundaries, this could lead to resentment. But with boundaries, they can compromise, maybe spending weekends together while keeping weeknights for themselves. This balance prevents codependency and fosters mutual respect. Friendships. Have you ever had a friend who constantly asks for favors but rarely gives back? Setting boundaries might look like saying, "I can't help this time," to prevent the relationship from feeling one-sided. With friends, boundaries allow you to support each other without becoming overly reliant. Are you the friend who's always there, or the one who's always drained? Family relationships. In families, boundaries are a tricky matter. Respecting personal space and autonomy is key, even with those closest to us. For instance, a parent might expect to know every detail of your life, but setting boundaries could sound like, "I love you, but I'd rather not discuss this topic." It's about creating space for your autonomy. Workplace relationships. And at work, boundaries prevent burnout. They remind us that it's okay to say, "I'm off the clock." Let's say your boss emails you after hours. A simple reply like, "I'll address this tomorrow morning," sets a clear line between work and personal time. The importance of emotional boundaries. When you set boundaries, you're telling the world, "This is who I am, and this is what I need." Boundaries preserve your sense of self, prevent emotional exhaustion, and create space for personal growth. So ask yourself, are my boundaries protecting me, or are they leaving me exposed? In summary, emotional boundaries are not just about keeping people out, they are about letting the right people in, on your terms. It's time to reflect, adjust, and take control of your emotional energy. Because when you set boundaries, you are not just protecting your peace, you're creating a life where you can thrive. Protect your peace. Set your boundaries. If this was helpful to you, kindly subscribe for tips on mental health awareness and emotional clarity. We appreciate your time, thank you for watching.